Welcome to Virtual Play live game development streaming. We're a small indie game company in the Netherlands, making a lot of applied games, but also working on our own entertainment games. We have big plans, including a lot of new technologies and very cool new gameplay ideas. For this stream, we'll be showing the entire process of building our new game Hatchball, which is not really technically innovative, but a mashup of pinball and collecting and caring for cute creatures. My name is Stephan, and I've been programming and making games for over 30 years. When I was very young, I already had two big passions, music and computers. So I'm basically a self-taught programmer from a time before the internet and tutorials, and just studied computer science and artificial intelligence years later. Let's get started. So, welcome to the second episode after Sunday. I hope there's some people who really enjoyed this, and that you also tell your friends, of course. If I'm correct, then the audio of my microphone should be a lot better than last time. I actually set up the filters not completely correct, so. Right, if you're joining for the first time, welcome, and I'm working on a game called Hatchball. Well, you saw a little bit of that in the intro, and last time I've set up the project and I told you about a lot of assets in Unity that I use, and then this time I'm just going to continue that and get on with building the basics of a pinball machine, and also that will include input. I'm gonna need to get some input in, like using keys to control the flippers that I'm gonna build, and that's also gonna mean that I'm gonna use the new Unity input system. So hopefully it'll be something that you can learn something from, or well, just like watching how it's made. Anyway, I'm gonna just start that. Let me just say that I have no idea where I'll end up today. I'm gonna probably just go on for an hour, not really much longer than that. And I also know that I really want to finish this game because we also sent it out like in a year, or less than a year. So probably maybe I'll even like do more streams than only these times. So let's just say I'll keep everyone informed about that. All right, I'm gonna go back to my screen. Okay, here we are, and I've also added this thing here in the corner. I don't know why this is also slow now. Oh, I do know why this is also slow now. Yeah, I'm actually doing this, so I'll show you what's happening. There's an update for Visual Studio that's actually installing right now. That's why everything is a bit slow right at this point. I can see that here in my CPU. Yeah, there's some stuff going on. Right, so if it's not as smooth as I want, well, let's just wait for this. I shouldn't have done that. They're usually sending a lot of updates to Visual Studio, and they're usually really small, so I just clicked OK out of automatic thing. Another update that I just did is I actually updated Unity, because I figured, well, I just started the project, so there's not really much that can break, and there's just been a long-term support version of Unity released, 2019.4.0. I've seen in the release notes that there were a few bugs that I actually got bugged by in the past, and that actually I wanted to get rid of, so I updated, which means if I'm going to click this now, then it really asks me if you want to upgrade the project, and well, that will be fine. It won't be a lot of work for Unity because it's just a minor update. Yeah, let's see how long it takes actually to load the project. Okay. Meanwhile, let me tell you a little bit more about Hatchball, because I started last time. I told everyone about the game. I mentioned that it's pinball, and I also mentioned that it's caring about cute creatures. what we actually, I'm gonna grab this screen thing that I also grabbed last time, the design of the table. Let's see, where is it? I have it over here. Stream timer, yes. All right. So we've been using this. Here it is. We've been using this last time as well. It is the layout according to our game design of this this pinball table. So what you see here, there's a plunger you can shoot the ball with. The balls will actually be shown before you can even shoot them, so you can see how many balls there are left. That will be like a nice addition. Then there's the plunger lane that of course will have the ball coming back if you don't shoot it hard enough. And then there's this blocker that will have to appear when the ball goes back, so that it can't, like when the ball passes this thing, it can't really go back into the plunger lane. That's something you want to do. Well, at least we're going to do it for this pinball table. Not all pinball tables do that, but there's also this this bridge here. This is a ramp under which the ball can pass, and usually when you shoot it, you'd want the player to have the ball. Oh yeah, Visual Studio meanwhile has been updated. I will close it. We'll open it later. Unity doesn't show anymore, so maybe it has actually. No, it has not imported yet. Oh, it's going to go pretty fast. As I was saying, this this shooting, well, generally in pinball, you want the player to shoot the ball. If they really don't like know what they're doing, it should really shoot over these 3 rollover targets and go into the outer path past this little sensor block that we're doing here, and then go somewhere over here. That's what we're aiming for with the physics, so that if you actually pull the plunger not as far, that you can have this skill shot that a lot of pinball games have, and this one will have it too. We're just not sure how we're gonna name it, but some type of skill shot. And if you don't shoot it as hard, it will have a curve that ends up somewhere over here, and the ball will roll through one of those rollover targets before it actually gets anywhere else. So the condition for the skill shot will be the ball actually going through the sensor that like detects if it's out of the plunger lane, and then the next thing that it hits is one of these rollovers. Like I'm gonna use a lot of pinball terms. Thank you, Tim. Gonna use a lot of those pinball terms that I will actually show a little document that we made. It's a very simple research document. Pinball table feature terminology. And thank you for following. All right, here it is. Like, we got a little list for the people that don't know what's going on. I'm gonna just build all those things while making this. We just did a little research. It's a bumper, it's a passive bunker. What's a slingshot bumper? A slingshot, a plunger lane, auto plunger, drop target. Like, these are things that we're all gonna just use these terms. I'm gonna use these terms a lot. For now, I just use the term rollover for these detectors over here. They you might know them from other pinball games. If they roll here, if the ball rolls here, the light will go on. If it rolls into it again, it might go off. We're actually going to have difficulty settings in this, or difficulty levels in this game, because the rest of the game, just a little bit I wanted to share with you also, is that you
can collect these creatures after you progress through this thing, and then even one other level that's below this, like with there's going to be flesh-eating plants here. When they eat the eggs, and the last bit that you get in progression is that the egg will come down with this plant into a lower level, and then in that level you can actually bring the there won't be a losing condition there anymore. It's just a lot of combos, and you get to do like score extra points, and in the end you end up putting the egg into a nest, and that's the nest you've seen before. And at that point you get a hatchling, and those hatchlings are gonna actually be you're gonna be able to put them back. Oh, I'm gonna put it back here. You're gonna be able to put them on these leaves here. Those we call the pedestals, and that means that once you've put, like outside of the pinball game, of course, you put a hatchling over there or over there, and you hit it, then it will have a special ability that will help you in the pinball table. So you could put it to a higher difficulty setting, or you can score more points, and we'll add more levels later, but that's not going to be, probably not going to be in version 1, but let's see how far it goes. And then, well, you're going to be able to achieve more in the pinball. That's actually just the thing. So I'm just going to close this again because we already have it in here. If I put it back on, you see it here. If you watched last time, then you can see that I haven't done anything in between like yesterday. And also what we still have is this game. If we run it, we get, well, it's not a game yet because there's no input, but we've tweaked the physics values a bit so that it feels right. So now there's two things I want to do today. I want to add more obstacles, more of these things that are in here. That should not be too much work. And then I want to start making the first interactive things. Maybe first add something passive like the bumpers, and then maybe a flipper or the plunger maybe. I'm guessing, I think I'll do the flippers today. So I've actually done those kind of things more often, so I'm gonna probably sometimes use some references for myself, so that it will go a little bit quicker than when you would do it for the very, very first time. But I'm still gonna show you what to do, and I'm just gonna show how I'm doing it. Right. First, let me just add a few more obstacles so we can actually have some nice bits of gameplay. I'm gonna make this one a little bit darker, just to be able to see what I'm actually drawing. Bang. All right. I'm not able to select it. Okay, that's good. That's this layer that I've locked, the helpers layer. And let's go back to what I was doing. I got to obstacle 3. That was this thing, and I made the boundaries. The boundaries are this outer collider, and all these objects are nothing more than colliders, and they have a polygon drawer thingy. That's it. Right. So let's just add some obstacles. I'll start with I always use duplicate for this because I mean, it makes sense to just reuse what I already had and it's set correctly. I'm just gonna build these thingies quickly. I'm actually not gonna make it that pointy. Right. There we go. That's one too many. Something like that. Probably want to make it as straight as possible. It doesn't need to be super completely 100% straight, but something like this is good. Let's just see where I got my pivot. It's right there. That's good. And then I'll just copy this one a few times. And I'll have my bit set up there. So the next thing I'll need is this side. And I'm actually thinking that I'll use this same bit. So last time I've set up a few layers for the ball to go into when it passes this point, so that it will actually go over the bit that is here, so balls won't interact with each other. When one ball is in the lower layer and one ball is in the upper layer, because I'm using 2D physics. And so this lower layer can actually run, an obstacle can run through here. Let's see, that has about the same. Yeah, that should be okay. I'll tweak it later, I guess. All right. So now I can actually have an obstacle here. So because when the ball comes from this side, it will just switch to another layer that won't have this obstacle. So just to be complete, this obstacle is in layer obstacles 1, which will collide with balls 1. And that's one thing that I did not do the last time. I didn't set that up. So I will set it up right now. Here we go into the project settings, and here you see the physics 2D settings. It's pretty slow today. I don't know what actually happened there. Well, you see that I created all those new layers and I did not turn all these layer collisions off. I'm just going to do that now. It's a bit tedious. I wish that Unity made like a button to turn all these off. Maybe there is some kind of thing that I just don't know of. And now I'm going to just look at what I want here. I want obstacles 1 to collide with balls 1 and balls 1, 2, because 1, 2 is like the transition. When they're in the middle of this transition, you want the balls to collide with each other. Like balls 1 and 2 can't collide, so somehow you have to be smart about it. And I thought about like how I'm going to do that. Last time I thought like, okay, I'm going to make 2 collision layers and then 1 in between. So there's balls 1 that won't collide with balls 2. So let's see, balls 2 and balls 1 won't collide. Also balls 1 won't collide with balls 3, and obstacles 3 and balls 2, 3, and obstacles 2. But so balls 1 collides with obstacles 1. Obstacles 1 collides with balls 1, 2 as well, but not with everything above it. And then you get this pattern that actually is going to be replicating. Balls 1, 2 will actually also collide with another ball that's in that in-between layer. And then obstacles 2, balls 1, 2, balls 1, 2. Actually, anything that has the same number will be colliding, except for obstacles with obstacles, because they don't collide. Obstacles don't move. If I think about something else to do maybe later, then I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. So balls 2, balls 1, 2, obstacles 2, balls 2. Then we go to balls 3, 2, 3. Will they collide with balls 1, 2? That's an interesting question. It might. I don't think that's ever going to happen, so I will just turn it off. Balls 1, 2 don't collide with balls 3 and obstacles 3. Balls 2, 3 collides with everything 2, yes. Obstacles 3 doesn't collide with obstacles 2. Oh, actually, obstacles 2 doesn't collide with obstacles 2. And obstacles 2 doesn't collide with balls 3. Balls 2 doesn't collide with balls 3 and obstacles 3, but it does collide with balls 2, 3. This is like a puzzle in itself. This has a 3, so it will collide. Obstacles 3 won't collide with obstacles, and now we have it. It's kind of this pattern that hold on. Yeah, this pattern that we see here, that you could like keep it going forever, but I don't think we'll have more than 3 layers of physics in any of these games. So yeah, I'm gonna close this and I'm gonna go on with my thing here. In the lower layer, sorry, here I'm gonna have this ramp, and somewhere over here it's gonna switch into the upper one. So I think I'm just gonna maybe make that, or shall I just, I'll stay with the lower layer one. Hey, I remember making one here, didn't I? I probably forgot to copy that. Well, I'll just go on. I'll create a new obstacle. It's going to be the side of this. I could actually make that be boundary, because it's still the same. Boundaries, edit it. Yes. Extra point here. Oops, that's a bit small. Yes, in between. And then this is my new, it's the side of this log or whatever it was. I think it was a wood log in the scene. And then I can actually give it a bit of a something that will make sure that the ball doesn't roll right straight down here. I'm gonna have to tweak this so that you can actually shoot it in more easily, but it won't roll straight down and just into this hole. We're gonna use that later, but I think this is just gonna be something like this. All right, let's see what's handy to do. We got this, we got that, we got that. We got quite a lot already. Let's make the last few obstacles. This one here is going to be quite important. There's this little design detail here. Usually pinball tables have an out lane and an inner lane. The inner lane will bring the ball onto the flippers, and the out lane would bring the ball into the drain and the gutter, so that it will actually lose. We changed that idea a little bit, but not mechanically, just dynamically. So just aesthetically even. The snakes here will sleep. When you hit it the first time, they will wake up. Nothing will happen to your ball, your egg. If you hit it the second time, your egg will be eaten. Sorry, I'll just take a little sip. And so that will work the same way that the outlanes do. So the first time your ball goes through an outlane, it will be saved and like shot back by this little pin that's like on the bottom. We don't do that. It will just be saved because of the fact that the snakes are sleeping. All right, so let's do this thing. So if you shoot the ball here and you want to shoot it into this flower because that's a target, then you actually don't want the ball to fall back right into that snake. All right. I think I'll just expand this thing here all the way down to here, and then like that. So now here I have my plunger lane like a little obstacle there. I need a one obstacle over here. That's that thing. Let's just put its pivot over here. Ba-bum-ba-dum. And a lot of opportunities to tweak this later if it appears that like the ball falls from this too easily into a snake or whatever. And then this middle thing will need some shaping. Alrighty. The ball's never gonna fall there, I think. We'll see about that shape later as well. You don't want the ball to get stuck under a flipper. You never want that. So this is going to probably be a little bit wider there. But for now, it's going to be just fine. Let's see. That's that obstacle. And then there's the flippers themselves. I won't draw them yet. And then there's these special ones. Yeah, maybe I'll place the obstacle parts of those already. They're called kickers. They will kick the ball back like up, like straight in that direction or straight in that direction, and they're meant to keep the ball in play a little bit longer, but also make it less predictable. But they will need some extra detailing, because this obstacle will actually need to be just the back. Let me see, I will do this something like this. The top doesn't need to be this pin, but just a little bit like that, I think. Top it off a bit and then put this back in so that we can put our actual trigger there at a certain point. Something like that. All right, and for this one I'll just copy it, put it there. Whoa, I thought I copied it. Duplicate, put it there and mirror it, scale x -1. That's almost perfect. Right, that's my kickers. Don't really need an super gutter right now. Well, why not? I'm already making it. Yeah, there's really no reason to do this actually. This can be just one obstacle. I'll just edit it into a bigger shape. Something like this. Gutter here. And actually I can just edit the boundaries to include this bit. Actually don't need that point. And I don't need that point. All right. And then I can add it. This one. No, sorry. It's this one. This long one. Just to include this bit. So what you're seeing here, the amount of points and edges in the polygon collider doesn't really matter a lot. It would be kind of the same calculations for any physics engine to have multiple polygon colliders with these polygons. Actually even a little bit less because there's no side bit here, so this is more efficient probably. All right, what have I not got yet? The flippers here, I'll cover that later. Right now, yeah, this bit that will appear, I'll cover that later. Oh, actually I'll just make it now, but I'll hide it so that it's just prepared. There, I'll just let it go through all the way. All right, it will definitely be blocked by that. Maybe you want to do this so the ball actually makes a nice roll there. Also depends on the artwork we're going to use there for the actual obstacle that will block it. All right, now there's this bottom layer that's kind of finished. Yeah, it is. So now I'm going to go into the new layer. What I'm actually going to do is copy this thing, and now I'm going to make some more. I'm going to create an empty game object. I'm going to make some more structure into my scene. I'm going to call this main level. Why do I do this? This code, it's just a scene, so I'm going to call it main level. I'm going to set it to 0, 0, 0, so it's just a nice reference position, and I'm going to put all these boundaries, except for the last one I just cloned there, into main level. It's really slow. What's happening today? Huh. I don't see what makes it so slow. Well, let me just, to be sure, stop my virus scanner. No, it's not really running. Oh, well. All right, something has happened. I just don't know what. So at this point I have main level, and I will also create a new empty object just to organize the scene, called upper plateau. And this main level, I'll just make sure it's in obstacles 1. It will ask me if all the children will also be in obstacles 1. They already were, but just in case. And upper plateau will be obstacles 2. So this will be a new level. I'll actually turn off main level right now. This obstacle is still an obstacles 1. It needs to be an obstacles 2 as well. And I'll make sure it's also parented to that thing. And now here comes my most interesting thing. Most interesting for now. These are my outer boundaries of the main level. The upper plateau will have its own boundaries, so I'm actually gonna need something like boundaries here for the upper level as well. I'll duplicate this obstacle so that it will be that thing, and I will make this first thing into the boundaries. Doesn't matter here that this is the same name as the main level boundaries, because this is boundaries in the upper plateau. And I'll edit this into being the outside boundaries. And here we will see what I meant earlier. This bit belongs to the upper layer, because what's going to happen here, over here somewhere, is where they're going to switch. So I'm going to actually build this entire ramp down. And then later I'm going to make sure that they both align. Once I've done this shape. And here we go. Something like this. Gonna probably need a bit of an edge to get the ball in there. And then this has to line up with my sides. There we go. Something like that. I'll just put this here for now, so that we have a little bit of working space. Something like this behind the flipper. It should not be able to go in between the flipper and the thing, so probably maybe we'll have to revisit this once we get a ball in between here, and it will like gets under here somehow from this flipper while that flipper is up, and then you put the flippers down, it will shoot out. You don't want that. So maybe I'm actually gonna have to do this, but then we have to make sure that our artwork is also adapted. So maybe let's just first test it, but I think that's an opportunity for a bug. Well, actually that's a very good thing to just notice. If it's an opportunity for a bug, let's not do it. I'm gonna get the ball and see how big it is. It's quite big actually. Was that the correct size? I'm gonna really do a peek into the other project that I did. That was a testing thing. The one I don't want to show you because then I give it all away. I'm gonna see how big the ball actually is. In the lane. Huh. It's about 2 balls wide. Oh, I think that actually makes sense here. So there's this ball. Oh, I'm doing this other shortcut. Ah, it's not that bad. Okay, let's keep it that way then. I made too many balls. Right. This ball. Now. All right. This boundary thing. Let's edit it again. What I was actually doing is getting the ball here and putting it in between this spot and the flipper and see if it actually fits. It does not. So that will be a problem. If I don't tackle it now, it will become a problem later. So I think I'm just going to try to do this, and then the art people will have to make sure that it works that way, like that this plateau actually extends over here, so it can roll here visibly. The only other solution would be to like have the flipper have some extra. Yes, hold on, I'm gonna do that. I'm going to delete these points. I'm going to have the flipper have some extra bit underneath it so that it actually will stop the ball from going under the flipper. That sounds like a better solution because this really doesn't match the artwork that we were thinking. Like this would be a plateau with a flipper on the edge. Let me put this ball back here, close to the plunger, which is not there yet, I know. All right. Okay, so finishing this up, it's gonna need quite a few other things. For instance, this ramp. I just made it in the other layer. I'm gonna have it extend down to here in this layer so that in both layers it's free to roam here. And then here there is actually an opportunity. There's enough space for the ball to roll in between, and the flipper and the side. Gonna go there and there. There we go. All right. So in the main level, you see this. I'll actually give them different colors. The boundaries of the main level, the polygon drawer will have a little bit of a, let's say, brown color. Something that's still visible, but clearly different. Yes, something like that. All right. And then the top one. So you see in the lower level, the ball will go in here, disappear under like in rendering, it will disappear under a model. And then somewhere over here, there's a sensor which will teleport the ball over there. Because if you actually wanted to go all the way over here and you wanted to be able to go that fast that it actually ends up there, that's not gonna work. So you're gonna have to help it. So if it gets over here somewhere, then you teleport it over here so that it drops out of this thing, and that thing needs to be there. So what we need in the upper level is a hole over here. Something like this, that the ball can come out of. And there's this other thing, the ball, you don't want the ball to go back in once it like hits this thing and goes back up. So we're gonna need to make something similar to the block there to make sure that the ball doesn't go back up here. But you also don't want to see it appear, like from it be teleported from there to there. So you want to have some distance. Okay, so this would be like almost the entire upper boundary, except for the fact that we again, like the last time, it's just one big outer boundary now, and we want it to be an inner boundary. So I'm going to make two paths here instead of one. And like the last time, I'm going to change it to something else. So that we know where it is. All right, so these are the 4 points. I'm going to edit to be outside of the rest. And there we see it happening already. Now we've got the same situation as in the lower bit, that this is actually the free space. Oh, I did something wrong. I didn't include this ramp. This is actually the free space in the polygon. All right. I'm gonna probably reboot my computer before I do anything else later, but because this is really getting slow. Don't know why that's happening. I don't need this. I don't need extra points. This should be enough. Right, so we have these nice boundaries now. For the lower and for the upper plateau, let's give this one also a different color, just slightly. But then on the other end of the spectrum, like bluish. So that we see that those are the boundaries, the outer boundaries. All right. Then I have this obstacle, which I actually don't need. So I'm deleting it. Yeah. So I think the upper plateau only... Oh, yes, I do need one. Hold on. That's this one that I just mentioned. The one that makes sure that this ball doesn't go back up this hole. It will be somewhere over here so that you can actually see the ball going in a little bit, but then returning. Maybe just a little higher, even. And then would have some kind of shape like this. I don't know. Doesn't really matter what the upper part there is. Well, it does matter, because if it's going to enter here, it will need to make sure that if a ball goes over here, it will need to disable this. If a ball comes in from this side, then it will need to enable it again. Yes, gonna edit this thing quickly to be a little bit more round. Right. This thing, I screwed up a bit. I put it pivot outside. I don't like that, just because I'm selecting it with its icon like I showed you last time. And I'm gonna put it so that the pivot is actually there, and if I deselect it, it's actually showing there where I want it to be. That's it. So let's make the first interaction there. What's the first thing I want to have? I'm gonna start simple. I'm gonna start with a bumper. Oh, that actually looks not good. I think the scale is not right. Let me try getting a little bit smaller ball. Will this go in between here? Yes, but still very tightly. And now I'm gonna have to change the physics scale as well. Like last time I put the gravity to -30. I did change it from 2 to 1.5, so I could like do times. You can do this in Unity in any input thing. You can do calculation, and it will do it for you. So that's nice. You never need an extra calculator there. And that might be okay now. Because the ball's smaller and we want the ball to move the way that we thought it should move like last time. And this might be a little bit too wide now. Oh yes, I see. Okay, well, let's just see how this ends up. We can edit everything a little bit and tweak it even more. All right. Yeah, what did I say? I said bumpers. I did not say it yet, but that's what I thought. So if I put the ball here and it falls, let's just play it so we can see that it does. Yeah, it does. Right now, this is what would happen to the ball. You see that it went through this thing because it's in a different layer. Actually going to disable the upper plateau for now. We're not going to use it yet. If it does get here, we want there to be a nice little bumper. So I'm going to create I'm actually going to create a circle, and the circle is like a preset thingy here in Unity. Create a sprite in the shape of a circle. It's simply circle, so that I can just render that thing. I don't need that per se, but I don't have like a polygon renderer for a circle, so I'm actually going to use a sprite. So in this case, I'm going to actually use a sprite object, and this object will have the circle as a sprite, and you see it there. It's not the right size yet, so let's see something. I don't need the Z value, something like that. The way I drew it, it's a little bit bigger, like that. Yeah, that should be nice. I'm gonna make it red because that's the way I drew it, and also because they're gonna be, what's happening here? Also because they're going to be mushrooms in the game. They're going to be like bouncy mushrooms. That's going to be the bumpers. If the ball hits it underneath the bumper, it's going to be pushing the ball away, hitting the ball away, whatever you call it. I'm going to name this bumper, and it's actually these things have names. So let's say bumper E1, and we're going to have 3 of those. So this one will actually be bumper E1, and let's name that one bumper E2. That one E2, and that one will be bumper E3. Should actually put that in my drawing, but I'll do that later. What is going on here? I can't even drag stuff. Yeah, there we go. Alright. So right now they're only sprites. They won't do anything. I'm just gonna see, and this is something that will happen. They're probably not on the right Z coordinate. Nope. Far from it. Minus 200. However did they do that? Well, now you see they're already there in the yeah, that's better. In the view, in the game view. Z fighting going on there. That's what you call it when things clip through each other. Let's see. Going to go back to 2D. I'll make these things be separate. Like the way they render is going to be separate from the physics. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an empty object here. And I'm going to make this the other way around. So I'm going to make the model be a child object of this empty object. That's not the way I wanted it. The empty object will just have a scale of 1, but it will be in that exact position. Let's see, that exact position. And the bumper, the model, the scale of the model doesn't really matter for the object. It makes it a lot cleaner to have all the logic. This object would actually be the bumper, and this would be the model. So I'll remove this, make this model, and this make it into bumper E1. I'm actually gonna copy these twice, make this one into E2 and this one into E3, and I'm not gonna put them there. I'm just gonna copy this position and paste it here, and just gonna reset it to scale 1 and copy the E3 position. And oh my god, my computer is slow. Paste it here and 1 1. Now I can remove these 2 old ones. Now here we got 3 objects that have nothing except for just a transform and then a model underneath it. At this point, I'm going to make a prefab. So I'm going to create a new top level folder called prefabs, because later when I edit one bumper, I want all the other bumpers to change as well. So at this point, I'm going to create this bumper prefab, bumper, and actually what I just did, I'm going to do it again, but this time it doesn't really need that. I'm going to do this, use this trick. If I drag an existing object onto this prefab, it will overwrite the prefab, replace the prefab with the contents of this one, and it will automatically replace that one with the contents of the prefab. So that these 2 are actually, they're already in the right place, and they're what the hell is happening here? I'm not able to drag stuff. This is really weird. Ah, there we go. And I can replace it. Now I have these three things all pointing to the same prefab. You can see that by select prefab, that's prefab, that's all the same prefab. So now if in this prefab, I can open the prefab separately. This is just the thing that has changed in Unity since, like, I don't know, 2019 or something. You have nested, like you can edit a prefab and you can put a prefab in a prefab, and I can edit it separately. So for instance, if I change this into a different color now, it will change for all of them. I'm not going to do that though, because red was okay. But what I'm going to do now is add a circle collider. There it is, circle collider 2D. And let's think. This thing will be a circle collider, which means it has to be the same size. That's one thing, it has to be the same size as the thing. I made it 3.5, so that will be the radius. And then this circle collider will, right now, will just bump the ball away just like as any other thing would do. Let's just see what it does. You can see that. It will just fall on it and, oh, it's in the wrong layer. Oops. And this is actually also what I told you last time about making not the default the layer that the ball is in, because this way I really have to think about, okay, so in which layer do I want to put this? So these things are obstacles, and they're obstacles of the first level, so I'm gonna make these obstacles level 1. Actually, the models, they're just default. They don't need to collide with anything. That is really not necessary what I just did, but so right now you can see these layers are bold. They're overrides to the prefab. I'm going to apply them, and right now they should actually bounce the ball away, but bouncing is really not the right word. I think you see they're just kind of inert. What I'm going to do for the bumpers is actually make these not be normal physics objects, but triggers. So that every bumper is going to be a trigger. Triggers are not really stopping the ball, but they will launch some code as soon as I get something that enters. Well, obstacles 1 can only collide with, let's see, obstacles 1 can only collide with balls 1, 2, and balls 1. So the only thing that will ever come into that is a ball. That will make my code a lot easier. Well, this is the first time I'm actually going to go into code. Bumper. I'm going to make a bumper class that will add, and immediately put it into my scripts folder. After compilation is done. Oh my gee, what? This is so slow. And again, the dragging. Ah, there we go. Right. There's this other thing. I made these icons. Right now you see that because I've got this selected, you can actually see something, but I can't really select the bumper. Oh, I can. Well, yeah, because they have a sprite. But I want to be able to see them here as icons. So this bumper thing will get its own icon as well. Other bumper. I will select it. Bumper. There we go. And now you see here the nice thing about this hierarchy plugin, which is deprecated, I know, is that you can actually see the icon appearing here as well. That you, like, you see ball here and you see the bumper here. You see here that it has a plus because it has not been set to the prefab yet. I will do that now. I'll apply it. You see they all have a bumper script now, and they will appear here as bumpers, which gives me a really nice overview. Then the next thing I'm just going to do is add my object node. That's the one I talked about last time. I'll do it with all three if that's possible. Object nodes, add an object node. And what? Oh, okay. There's a bit of a problem there, because my script is not meant to do that on. Okay, that's a good one. I can change that in the yeah, I need to change that in my object nodes thing, but let's do that later. The object node script actually, I'm gonna revert these. Revert. I'm gonna add the object node to the actual prefab. This is also the button to add a prefab. Edit the prefab node, object node. One thing I'm also going to do is go into this script. I put it in plugins, object nodes, this one, and I'm also going to give it its own icon so that you just can see what it is in this thing. I made a node. I didn't make a special icon for that. I will make an icon for that. Right now it's just a node, and the bumper thing should be the first one. The first one. Come on. So that will actually show that icon, because it will show the topmost icon in the gizmos view. So now you see here the object node bumper, which is fine, of course, but now I want that object node to appear for the different ones. This is going to be E1, it's going to be E2, and it's going to be E3. And in the prefab, I'm actually going to make this be red and have a little bit of an offset. I actually don't know how big it needs to be. Go back. Now there's E1, E2. I'll change the position of that thing, and E3. Something like that. So yeah, I need to work on my placement there, but it doesn't really matter a lot for now, because what I want to do here is get like a state in which if I select everything, I can see what everything is. Also, I can do it in a prefab again. Make sure that it's also shown when unselected, and then I have this nice little view of what everything is, so that later on I can just disable that thing and still have the objects. Oh, I turned off this model. Still have all these objects show their label, so that I can refer to the game design documentation. I've got this little script that turns off all the objects nodes and turns them back on, so that I can just toggle that. Right now I don't have that yet, but I'll do that later. So here's my bumpers, but they don't do anything yet. Yeah, let me see. This is time to actually open Visual Studio. There we go. Well, that's fortunate that I just did open it already. And to end this nice session, I'm going to try to do this right immediately. Using a little reference that I have here. All right. I tweaked some values before so that it won't take too long here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I don't need any. I never use start. I consciously use awake because it's done before start, so that I can use any start of an object for things that I know that have to happen after everything else is awake. That's just the order that things are done in Unity. I don't need an update method. I do need a on collision enter 2D method. I personally don't like private because the default in C# is already private, so it's a bit double. But for people who use multiple programming languages, this might be handy to include private there. But I just know that when I'm reading code here and it's C#, I already know that this is private because it has nothing there. And a method is always private by default. So I have this onCollision entered to D. And I'm actually going to have, it's not a collision. Hold on, is it a collision? Do I want it to be a collision or do I want it to be a trigger? I actually don't think it does matter. But right now I need the other one because I made it into a trigger. I'm going to test it both. On trigger enter 2D. Oh, I'm not sure if it has the rigid. Oh, it does have the rigid body. It's the attached rigid body. But I want to know what direction it comes from. So I'm actually not going to make this into a trigger. I'm going to make it a... Where is it? Ah, there it is. I'm going to make it into a non-trigger anyway. It's just going to collide with the thing. There we go. That's it. Save the scene. Go back into Visual Studio. So I'm actually going to use onCollision enter. Go back. And then at this point, I'm going to add a force. Collision.rigidBody. That's the one I wanted. Add force. And let's think. It's going to be how much? Oh, a bump force. Yeah, I'm going to need something. So I'm going to add a force in the direction of toward the other object. So the collision.transform position. So toward that from this object transform.position. That's the direction. And what type of force am I going to use? It's an impulse. It's like a one bang. You know, the force is like an engine and an impulse is like a hit or an explosion or anything. Although explosions can be a little bit more complicated, but then this I want to scale by some factor so that I can tweak how hard every bumper goes. And I'm going to make that into a public variable. So I'm going to give it a capital just like C# wants. And I'm going to give it a default value because otherwise it will get some error, some warnings. I want the default value to be something in the order of magnitude of the gravity force, but then as an impulse. I'm not sure how hard this is gonna go. Does it need anything else? I don't think so. This should be enough to have a bumper going. That's the wrong Unity. That's the handy thing of having multiple Unities open. There it is. These bumpers should now bounce the ball away. Like bump the ball away. Actually didn't get to... Ah, there we go. It does work. Nice. It's quite a lot of force this way. Not sure it should be this hard. But doesn't really matter. So because I made this into a public variable, I can actually tweak it while the game is running. Let's take this out of... Oh, it's already out of minimized. These bumpers have a bump force of 30. Let's make it to 20 and see how it goes then. Yeah, that looks better. All right. I actually did not get to input yet. I would have liked that, but yeah, I'll get to that, I guess, Friday. So my usual days are going to be Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays at the same time. Yeah, for now I'm gonna just, like I said, I'm a bit tired, so I'm not gonna go on for longer. I'll continue this on Friday, same time, same place. For now, yeah, stay safe. If you really like this, please do give it a like or follow or whatever it is that the platform you're on, and consider subscribing or even becoming a Patreon if you really like this and want to support our games, our tutorials, and our streams. So for now, I'm gonna say good night, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully on Friday. I'll let you all know in the channels themselves. And again, ending with my little bit of music. Bye bye.